Using Scottsdale Fire's terminology here, they just described that person as a soul aboard. Scottsdale Fire didn't answer any questions. They just tried to get as much information out as possible in about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, and then they had to go back to the scene, continue to work it right now. They still categorize this, obviously, as an active scene. As we take a look, you'll see why. The thing that has just changed here in the last 5 minutes, before we were seeing these live pictures, the two tails of the planes were pretty much right next to each other after they collided. They were able to just tow or drive or pull one of those planes, the one on the left, away. So now we're just seeing that one plane there. The reason they're doing all of this is because they're still trying to get that soul off board one of the planes. They said that person was still stuck inside. The terminology, they're trying to save that person there. That was what we heard from Scottsdale Fire. What they have told us so far here from the FAA about the mechanics of how this crash took place is that as one of these planes was landing, they veered off of the runway and collided with another plane. Let's listen in to Scottsdale Fire again just a short time ago in their news conference, their brief update with us, what they were able to tell us about how they're trying to handle this recovery as it's happening.
I can tell you that we have 5 souls, 1 DOA, 2 immediates that have been transported to local trauma centers, 1 delayed stable to a local hospital, and this is a still active scene. We're still working on extricating 1 soul out of one of the airplanes.
That was Captain Dave Folio with Scottsdale Fire. He went on to describe that soul still aboard one of the planes as they were trying to still save that person. That was what was said later on in the news conference. To describe some of the other terminology that was used there, DOA, that means dead on arrival. 1 person has lost their life here. 2 of them immediately taken to the hospital. That means they have very serious injuries. 1 of them delayed, still injured. Typically in a situation like that, it wouldn't be a life-threatening injury. Just to describe what's going on, I will tell you this. There is a smell of fuel in the air here. We're not that close to where this scene is. I mean, we've got a little bit of pavement between us, and we can absolutely still smell that. Something else you can see here away from these planes is landing gear on the runway. We talked with one witness, a man who actually says he owned the plane that crashed a number of years ago. He's in airplane sales, and he sold that plane back in 2005. He witnessed the crash happened. He said that there was an issue with the landing gear during the landing, that the landing gear collapsed. Let's listen to him describe what took place.
I saw the Lear 35 coming down with the left main gear collapsed and the nose gear partially collapsed, and watched it slide off the runway from center of the runway to the left. And we knew, based on the speed, that it's heading towards a building or something over here. So we left the office and came over to see what happened, and back to the Gulfstream 200.
And back live to the scene here out in Scottsdale. I will tell you this, when we first arrived, we arrived shortly after this crash. We were nearby. We saw Scottsdale firefighters running with jaws of life towards the plane, and then later on coming back with those jaws of life from the plane. Quite a large response here. Immediately called out as a first alarm response. We have Phoenix Fire here, Scottsdale Fire here, Glendale Fire here. That's just what we can see from our vantage point here at the Scottsdale Airport. Obviously, a lot of questions still remain about this scene. All we have heard so far from Scottsdale Fire authorities was, again, about that minute and a half long press conference just a short time ago. They said they hope to update us with more information within the next hour. If we get anything new, of course, we'll provide it to you.
Steve, one of the positive outcomes of this, if there is one, there was no fire, which is a miracle.
You're absolutely right. And I think that that's often one of the concerns you see when fire crews are responding here is they want to make sure they're not doing anything that could potentially spark a fire. I can smell that there is fuel out there right now. Our cameras captured what appeared to be a little bit of fuel out there, too. As far as how much was leaking or anything like that, I'll leave that to authorities to sort of parse all of that verbiage out and that language out. But enough fuel out there to certainly be a concern. And, yeah, you can't have something like that then spark a fire. I'll tell you this, too. I was talking to some of the employees in these buildings here. They were evacuated when this took place as well. So there was concerns about that.
Steve, are you getting the feeling that the person still trapped in that wreckage is alive?
I don't want to speculate on that. What I can say is that they just pulled that plane away about 5 minutes ago. They have been working at this scene. The verbiage we heard from Dave Folio, the Scottsdale fire captain there, was that they were trying to save that person. So at this point, that's the goal. They've moved these fire trucks here, sort of blocking our vantage point of what's happening and looking at, so we can't really tell the intensity at which these fire crews are responding to it, if they're trying to pull that person out immediately, if there's a lot of those measures, or if they're trying to be more cautious with it. We just don't know.
And Steve, just for the timeline for people at home, this all happened around 2:30, is that right? Or when did the call come in?
I believe they said it was 2:49 that call came in, and Scottsdale Fire has firefighters that are here at the airport. They responded within 1 minute of the crash happening, according to Folio. They were here immediately. We've heard from several of the witnesses out here on that immediate response that they did believe they potentially saw a little bit of smoke, but that never turned into anything. So I don't know if maybe that was water or just sort of debris flying. We just don't really know. This is one of those breaking news scenes where you have a lot of people at a Scottsdale Airport like this. A lot of people saw different things, and you try to parse together what's going on, which is why we only got a 1.5-minute long news conference there. They want to come out, provide the basic details there, then get all their ducks in a row, come back in an hour or two and really nail it down.
Sure. Okay, Steve, thank you for that.